Ever wondered what Central Africa looked like thousands of years ago, long before the borders of modern countries like Angola were ever drawn on a map? It wasn't an empty land. It was a place of dramatic change, shaped by one of the most significant migrations in human history, the Bantu expansion. Today, we're diving deep into the story of the first Bantu civilizations that transformed this region, laying the very foundations for the cultures and nations we see today. Let's rewind the clock about 3,000 to 4,000 years. The story begins not in Central Africa, but far to the north, in what is now modern-day Nigeria and Cameroon. This was the homeland of the Proto-Bantu peoples. They were skilled farmers who had mastered the cultivation of crops like yams and oil palms. They were also innovators, developing new tools and a unique set of languages that would become the root of hundreds spoken across the continent. But their homeland was getting crowded. As their population grew, they needed more land to farm and more resources to thrive. So, they began to move. This wasn't a single, organized march. The Bantu expansion was a slow, multi-generational trickle of small groups, families, and clans moving southward and eastward over centuries. Think of it like ripples spreading across a pond. They weren't conquering armies, but pioneers seeking new opportunities. Their journey was incredibly challenging. They had to navigate dense rainforests, cross massive rivers like the Congo, and adapt to entirely new environments, plants, and animals. One of their most significant advantages was iron. While many groups they encountered were still using stone tools, the Bantu migrants were masters of iron smelting. They could build furnaces, heat iron ore to incredibly high temperatures, and forge it into superior tools. Iron axes cleared forests for farming more efficiently than stone ones ever could. Iron hoes turned the soil faster, leading to better harvests. And iron weapons offered better protection and a hunting advantage. This technological edge was a game changer, allowing them to establish themselves and grow in new territories. As they moved into the vast Congo basin and southward into the lands that would become Angola, they encountered the original inhabitants of the region. These were diverse groups of hunter-gatherers, often referred to as pygmy peoples in the forests and Khoisan peoples in the savannas to the south. The interactions between the incoming Bantu farmers and these indigenous groups were complex. It wasn't always a story of conflict. There was trade, cultural exchange, and intermarriage. The Bantu learned from the hunter-gatherers' deep knowledge of the local environment, which plants were edible, which were medicinal, and how to hunt local game. In return, the hunter-gatherers were introduced to farming and pottery. Over time, many of these indigenous groups were either absorbed into Bantu-speaking communities or pushed into more remote areas. This process fundamentally reshaped the genetic and cultural landscape of Central Africa. By around 500 BC, the first waves of Bantu speakers had reached northern Angola. They brought their agricultural package with them, yams, palms, and new pottery styles that archaeologists can still find today. The evidence is scattered in the archaeological record, fragments of decorated pots, remnants of ancient furnaces called bloomeries, and changes in the pollen record that show the clearing of forests for fields. This was the beginning of a new era. For the first time, settled agricultural villages began to dot the landscape. Life became more sedentary. Instead of constantly moving to follow food sources, people could stay in one place, build more permanent homes, and develop more complex social structures. As communities grew larger and more stable, they began to organize themselves in new ways. The basic unit was the family or the clan, but these clans started forming larger political entities. Chieftainships emerged, led by individuals who commanded respect, controlled trade routes, or had spiritual authority. These early leaders managed land disputes, organized communal work like clearing new fields, and led rituals to ensure the favor of the ancestors and the fertility of the land. This was the birth of politics in the region. These small chiefdoms were the building blocks for the much larger and more powerful kingdoms that would later rise. The economy of these early settlements was based on more than just subsistence farming. They were part of a growing regional network. They traded salt, a precious commodity, as well as animal skins, ivory, and finely crafted iron tools. Pottery wasn't just functional, it was an art form, with distinct styles and decorations that tell us about different cultural groups and their connections. This trade helped spread ideas, technologies, and new goods, linking villages and chiefdoms together into a vibrant, interconnected world. Imagine ancient trade routes, not of highways and trucks, but of footpaths through the savanna and canoes navigating the rivers, carrying goods and news from one settlement to the next. One of the most powerful kingdoms to eventually emerge from these early Bantu settlements was the Kingdom of Congo, founded around the 14th century. Its heartland was in northern Angola and the western part of the modern-day Congos. The Congo Kingdom wasn't built overnight. It was the culmination of 1,000 years of social and political development that started with those very first Bantu villages. The kingdom became a highly sophisticated state with a centralized government, a king known as the Manikongo, provincial governors, and a complex system of taxes and tribute. They developed intricate art, particularly in sculpture and textiles, and had a rich spiritual life. When Portuguese explorers arrived on the coast in the late 15th century, they weren't met by scattered tribes, but by the representatives of a powerful and organized state. Further inland into the south, other powerful states also grew from these Bantu roots, like the kingdoms of Ndongo and Matamba. The title of the ruler of Ndongo was Angola, and it's from this very title that the name of the modern country of Angola is derived. These kingdoms had their own unique traditions and political structures. But they all shared that common heritage of the Bantu expansion, a legacy of iron technology, agriculture, and a web of related languages. So, when we think of the history of Angola and Central Africa, it's crucial to look beyond the colonial era. The foundations were laid thousands of years ago by those pioneering Bantu-speaking peoples. Their long, slow migration was one of the most transformative events in African history. They were not just migrants. They were innovators, farmers, engineers, and state builders. They turned the vast wilderness of Central Africa into a cradle of civilization, creating complex societies and rich cultures that flourished for centuries. Their legacy lives on today in the languages, traditions, and people of the region. The story of early Angola is a testament to human resilience, adaptation, and the enduring power of culture. Thanks for joining us on this journey back in time. If you found this fascinating, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into forgotten histories. Let us know in the comments what piece of ancient history you'd like us to explore next. See you in the next one.